Hi, I'm Frankie, and in this video, I'm going to go over evaluations. You'll learn what they are, when to use them, how to use them, and see an example of them in use. Let's dive right in. Now, evaluations. Consider this. You're building an Azure AI agent, and you want to know that it's working. You change the prompt in some way because you want to improve it. But once you change the prompt and you put in a new input and you get some sort of output, can you tell that the agent has improved? Can you tell that it's gotten better? You don't really know. It's really difficult to know when we make changes to the system prompt or the instructions if our agent actually improved. And that's where evaluations came in. Evaluations is our automated quality measurement of AI-generated outputs. By measuring these outputs, we can get a better handle on how well our AI solution is actually working. Now, an evaluator is something that's used for all evaluations. It's just a function that scores one AI output on a specific metric. You might have many evaluators for one evaluation because they're all going to score based on different kinds of metrics that you want to measure against your AI solution. For some evaluators, you'll literally have another AI model that's being used to judge the output based on what the input was and whatever its set of criteria is for the metric. A judge model is defined as a deployed AI model that reads a query, a response, and a rubric for that metric, then outputs a score and a reason. A score for that metric, which is in the rubric, and a reason as to why it gave that score. There are four main terms that you need to know here for this evaluation. We just went over the first three. A run is just one example instance of an evaluation that has taken place against a data set. So you can have many runs for a type of evaluation that has, many type of evaluators connected to it. Now there's four different things you can evaluate when it comes to evaluating AI solutions in Microsoft Foundry. There's agent target. So you can evaluate an agent, see how well the agent is working with its tools, its knowledge base, everything that's connected to it, including its instructions. You might want to evaluate just a model. You deploy AI models and you want to see how well does this model work. Should I be using a bigger model? Should I be using one that has less parameters, that might be faster? What's the best thing here? For the data set, if you have an existing set of responses along with their inputs, you can upload these and run evaluations on existing data sets without ever needing to make additional API calls to any type of agent. So this doesn't use more tokens because you already have the inputs and outputs, you're just running the evaluators. Although you would still use the AI tokens, inputs and outputs for AI-assisted evaluators, even when using data sets like this. Traces is the last one, and this one is all about measuring production traffic. So things that are within your application insights instance, if you are keeping track of how well your AI solution is working, the traces evaluations allows you to look back at the outputs that have taken place in production and run evaluations on those outputs. There's three evaluator categories. There's AI assisted evaluators, things like coherence, relevance. Coherence is, does this make sense? Is it coherent to a user? Relevance, is the output actually relevant compared to the input that a user actually gave? NLP or math, these are mathematical metrics that are used to score how well some sort of output compares to a ground truth. A ground truth is your perfect output that you might give as part of your data set. So you'd have an input, you'd have your ground truth, which is what you expect the output to be or something very close to it. And then when an output actually is generated by your model or your agent, then the F1 score or blue score might be an evaluator that compares that ground truth and all of the words or tokens within it and compares it to the actual output, and it'll score better based on how much they match. If they match a lot, it'll score well. If they don't match very much, it'll score poorly. So this is just an example of how close is the output compared to what you expected or your ideal output actually is. The last one is safety. And this is free. Microsoft does use an AI model that judges the outputs for violence, hate, sexual content, and self-harm, but they let you use the safety evaluators for free because they want you to use it. So go ahead and take advantage of the safety evaluators. They're only there to help. Now, when do you use evaluations? You use them during deployment, when you're just getting started and you're developing some sort of AI solution, POC, MVP, or you're just in the thick of it. Before deployment, so just before you actually go to deploy some sort of AI solution, your model, your agent, you want to make sure, does this match what I want it to do? Is the tools being called properly? Is the knowledge base being called properly? Not just the instructions, but everything connected. Your pipeline. This is where if you have a software development lifecycle and you are using multi-stage environments where you promote code through each of the stages, you might have evaluations as a gate before it can move to the next stage. So before you go to production, let's say, just like we have automated testing or unit tests to absolutely pass before something can be approved to go to production, you might have evaluations that run to absolutely be sure that your AI agent is working the way you want it to before it goes to production. The last one is in actual production itself. After you've deployed, you are going to want to monitor that real production traffic. So you take a look at that traffic and you run evaluations on that if you want to see how it measures up. Now, let's jump into the Microsoft Foundry portal and run an evaluation. I'm in the Microsoft Foundry portal. You can get to this by going to ai.azure.com. Within my project, I'm going to come up to the build section up here. And now I have a list of my agents. Now the agent I'm going to run an evaluation on is this Frankie's Bakery agent. It doesn't have a very complicated set of instructions, but it does have a knowledge base connected to it with just some information on Frankie's Bakery, which is a fictional bakery company that I created that ships baked goods all over the world. In that Frankie's Bakery, there's information on products, frequently asked questions, policies, things like that. So that's what I'm going to be asking the agent about. And it is going to involve this tool call to my knowledge base. So in the build section of the Microsoft Foundry portal, I'll come down to evaluations on this left side. When I hit evaluations, I see a list of my evaluations that have already ran along with their names. I can check out the evaluator catalog to see all the different types of evaluators that currently exist. I could even build my own evaluator because you just need to define a criteria or what your metric is and how it gets measured in order for it to be used as an evaluator. If you're going to do special red teaming evaluations, this is if you want to be super safe and secure with the way your AI agent or model is working, you can set that up as well. When it's coming to evaluations, we will come to the Create button here on the far right, click Create, and now we see the different types of evaluations we can run. If you want to run an evaluation on your agent, which is what we're going to do, you see a list of your agents. You can even change the different versions if you want to try different versions of your agents and evaluate those. If you want to evaluate models, you'll be able to evaluate all of your deployed models in your current project. If you have a data set that you want to upload with inputs and outputs already, you can upload those, run evaluations on those. It doesn't cost any more input and output tokens aside from the AI-assisted evaluators that run against your data set. There's traces, again, for the production existing outputs, the outputs that occur, and these live within your application insights resource if you have one deployed for your project, for your agents. So we would choose the agent, and when we go through traces, we would specify how far back should we go looking at outputs to run evaluations against. We are going to run one on the agent, my Frankie's Bakery agent. We'll do it on the most recent version, and we'll hit next. Now, for the data, I have the option to generate my own data right here and run a test against that. I could also upload my own data set, which is what I'm going to do. If I wanted to measure against other benchmarks that already exist, I could do that as well. But we're just going to upload a data set. So I'm going to come over here and I would use upload a data set, choose a file. we'll choose our bakery queries only, which is a set of queries that my agent will then be using for the evaluations. If you want to get access to files like this that I have, you can get them in the Azure Innovation Station online community. There will be a link to join in the description. So these are just queries that are going to be ran against my agent. And now we'll go next. Now we want to map the dataset file that I just uploaded to what should be recognized for the judge model. My judge model I'm going to choose to be GPT-4o mini. It doesn't need to be a big model. It's just looking at the context of the output, the input, and then making a judgment there. So it doesn't need to be a big expensive model. The query, I'll make sure that it lines up with item, and then these samples are all what are going to come from the output of the evaluation. I don't have a ground truth in that file, and I'm not adding additional context, so those are not populated. I'll hit next. Now, if I did want to add anything else to configure for this agent, for this evaluation, I could here. Now, I'm just going to let it be the user query, the item.query from the data set. I'm just going to let that be the pure input from a user. But if you wanted to add more turns, you could, if you wanted to evaluate an existing conversation that might already exist or something like that. I'll save this, hit next. Now we choose the evaluators that we're going to use. Now they break it down as to specific evaluators for agents, task completion, tool call accuracy. These things don't really exist or matter if you're just evaluating a model. There's the core quality evaluators like groundedness, coherence. It doesn't make sense. You can hover above them to understand more about how they work. There's the safety evaluators. I'll leave all those, and I'll just leave all these defaults. If you did want to add more evaluators, you could add a new evaluator. Take a look at this big list of evaluators, and you could even create your own evaluators and have them be added as well. This is just a big list of evaluators that can be added. I'll leave all these defaults, and I'll hit next. And now I'll name my evaluation. We'll call this Portal eval 01. Now I'll submit this. Now it'll take a few minutes to run my evaluation. And so after you see it running, I'll probably pause it or speed it up until it's done, and then we'll talk about the results. So right now, looks like it's running. I see it's in progress. I see all my evaluators. All right, let's come back when it's done. All right, our evaluation is done. And if we want, we can take a look at the results here. If I click in to the evaluation run, I can see these run details. If I want to check out the user logs, I can download these. This will see the actual logs that occurred for the run when it took place in the cloud. If I want to download the results, so all of the results, and then measure what they looked like, understand how much tokens they used, I can do that by downloading the results. I can get a high-level view of how all of these completed with the outputs of these metrics. It looks like most of them were great. Some things like task adherence only got 7 out of 10, but all for the most part pretty good. I can take a look at all of these different rows and columns and see how well they worked. I can see things like, well, let's look at task adherence. So task completion, okay, that's a good one to measure. So if I see some of the task completion, let's go to task completion because you can see all these. Let's see, task completion. So I can see the task completion here and see the task completion reason. Let's see, number 2, the agent could not provide the requested Sunday store hours for Frankie's Bakery, leaving the user's question unresolved, so it didn't complete the task. When the question was, what are the store hours on Sunday? I can see the response is, I couldn't find information about Frankie's Bakery's Sunday store hours in the available sources. Please check the bakery's website and contact them. So it didn't complete the task of actually talking about the Sunday store hours. So that's an example of how the We want our agents to respond well and complete the tasks, and this is evaluating and showing, hey, it didn't actually complete the task. Is there a better way to answer the question? So this is how we can evaluate, using all these different evaluators, how well our agents are working. So that is an evaluation that you can see and take advantage of and use all in the Microsoft Foundry portal. Now, as we get more advanced, we're going to want to do this in code as well. So I do want to show you quickly how you can also run evaluations in code. Now, all these code files you can get in the Azure Innovation Station online community for free. It's free to join. There's a link in the description. When you take a look at the post I make about this video within the community, there will be a zip file associated with that post with all these files and the data, so you can use it and take advantage of this. In this folder where I have these files, I have a README that'll talk about what's in here, what this is, how it works, how to get it set up, how to take advantage of it. It's using Python and the Microsoft Foundry SDK. In the SDK file, I go over 4 different scenarios that you can run. 4, if you are going to run a scenario running evaluations with a data set, you have inputs and outputs already. I actually have one of those that you can take advantage of. So here is a JSON file with queries and responses that you can use as that set data set if you want to just see what it looks like to run a data set with existing inputs and outputs. If you want to run with an evaluation against a model, you run an evaluation against an agent, just like we did, and we'll do again with showing it using the Foundry SDK here in code, and if you also want to run traces. So to do that, we just need to run these different commands, and so we are going to run the Python eval section scenario agent to see an evaluation against an agent. You are going to need to take this sample.env, populate it with your own values, and I already did that here, so this is what we're going to use so that I can just get started with this. You're also going to need to install your requirements. All of this is within the README file that you can take a look at. It's all in here. So let's give this a try, where we're going to see, the last thing I'll share actually is that in the README file, this is helpful to know, is when you're actually using Foundry SDK. The way this essentially is working is just a few different things. You set up your clients, which is the project and the OpenAI client that will actually be able to run evaluations, and then you create what's called your actual evaluation with the different evaluators. We're only going to use a few evaluators for our agent evaluation here in code because I don't want to have just a huge list of evaluators for you. And then you actually create your run because you can have many runs per evaluations. When you do that, you'll then just have that evaluation running, and in the code, we're just going to pull for the result to know, hey, when is it complete or when did it fail? And then we'll list the actual rows and information, which you can do also and take advantage of this if you were going to set up a process with your CI/CD and you want to have evaluations run, you're probably going to use the Foundry SDK. Or if you want to have some other custom logic solution, using the SDK is much more customizable than just using the Foundry portal. Now let's close this and get this. All right, now let's give this a try. I have my file open. I'm going to open up my terminal and run my Python script using the scenario agent. As this runs, scenario agent is going to create, it's going to get a data set and upload it, which I will then use as the queries, which is the bakery queries only. It's going to have the testing criteria, task adherence, coherence, violence, no more than just those 3 evaluators, because again, I don't want too many. Right now I can see that my evaluation is in progress. It's just polling every so often, just every few seconds to see if it's going or not. Once it's complete, we'll be able to see it completed in the Azure portal. Right now, if we were to go to the Azure portal, go to evaluations, we should see that it's in progress when we refresh the screen. And sure enough, I can see bakery agent target evaluation. So this is our evaluation that we just kicked off from our Foundry SDK in code. And when this is done, we'll also see our code should say that it's done. So we'll give this just a second. I'll come back when it's complete, and then we'll take a look at those results. All right, our evaluator is done, and I can see in the code that after it finished, status completed, it outputted the results of all this information with the queries, the scores. This is all in code. Now let's take a look at it in the portal. If I refresh this page, you can see that it's completed. I can go into the run, and I can see that there's only these 3 evaluators, and I can go ahead and see the results from these evaluators as well. So that's evaluations. So now you know what they are, how they work, how to use them, both in the Microsoft Foundry portal and in code. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I answer every comment to help as many people as I can. If this video was helpful for you, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. As always, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.